Over the last 3 years, 5 African countries told France to pack up and leave. All these countries had been allies with the French for years. Some of these alliances went back to independence. After decades of military cooperation, France lost all of this in less than 3 years. But just as that was happening, Kenya quietly signed a new defense agreement with France. Kenya already hosts British and American troops. What more is Kenya actually gaining by hosting another foreign military? And more importantly, why is Kenya welcoming Western militaries when much of West Africa is pushing them away? What did these 5 African countries see that Kenya hasn't? By the end of this video, you are going to get a clear insight into what is actually going on.
Boy, check 1, 2, 3. Mic check 1, 2.
June 3rd, 1964. A month after independence, the UK and Kenya signed a defense agreement. This agreement allowed British troops to conduct regular training exercises in Kenya. It was initially based at Kifaru Barracks in Nairobi, but later relocated to Nyati Barracks near Nyanyuki. And that's where it is located to date. But why? Britain wanted vast lands to train, and Kenya had that. Other than that, Kenya's climate offered year-round training conditions, without weather limitations unlike the UK. Kenya was also getting something. The arrangement allowed the British military to support training with the Kenyan military, which had little to no military experience then.
High on Kenya's Laikipia Plateau.
Despite the two nations' histories, we all agree that the deal made sense to both parties then. We won't get into issues surrounding the base and the communities living around Nyanyuki. That's a story for another video. 40 years later, the US joins the British and sends troops to Kenya. This was after a series of terrorist attacks and US embassy bombing by Al-Qaeda here in Kenya and East Africa. The main reason for this was to use Kenya's strategic location as a tactical outpost for counter-terrorism. Unlike the British, they did not set up base, but jointly shared Kenyan naval base in Manda Bay. It started as a temporary tactical outpost, but they made it official and permanent in 2019. That is where they are to date. Fast forward to 2026. The French signed a defense bilateral agreement with Kenya. They are not establishing a base, but they may enter Kenya for agreed activities such as training exercises. According to the agreement, it will enhance Kenya's defense capacity through access to French training, technology, and expertise. It is also stated that they will promote regional peace and stability, particularly in counter-terrorism and maritime security, among other things. I have shared a link to the document in the description. You can go ahead and have a deep dive. And while at it, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. This channel is relatively new, and each of these videos take a lot of time to research and produce. Your subscription not only supports the channel, but also motivates me to keep making videos like these. Now back to the story. Enhance Kenya's defense capacity through training and promote regional peace and stability, especially in counter-terrorism. These are all the same things the US and the British are doing. But one would argue the more the merrier, right? Hold that thought. We'll get back to it in a moment. I want us to go back to West Africa. In 2012, northern Mali collapsed. Terrorists took control of major towns and were making their way towards the capital. Out of fear of capital falling to terrorists, Malian government called on France for help. The initial objective was simple: stop the advance. And by many accounts, It worked. The terrorists were pushed back and out of the towns they controlled. At first, it looked like a success. But insurgent groups don't simply disappear. They regroup, recruit, and adapt. Instead of holding cities, they began attacking villages, schools, police stations, and military convoys. And the violence spread not just in Mali, but to the neighboring countries like Burkina Faso and Niger. 2 years after they started the war, France realized that the crisis had become regional, and so the war went regional. Thousands of French troops were deployed across West Africa, alongside local militaries to fight the insurgencies. And for nearly a decade, France became the most powerful foreign military actor in the region. But there was a problem. Despite all the efforts, the violence kept spreading. And with every passing year, people started asking the same uncomfortable question. If France has been here for years, why is the situation getting worse? Everything began to fall apart. Not in one country, but one after another. In just 3 years, France will be sent packing in Mali, where they started back in 2013. Then Burkina Faso, Niger, Chad, and finally Senegal in late 2025. So, what changed? Now, this is the interesting part. For every breakup, there are two stories. There is your story, and then there is what your ex says. In this story, you will be West Africa, and France will be your ex. We must get this right because if what those countries are saying is true about the French, Kenya might have just gotten into a relationship with a toxic ex. Let's start with France. They argue that they did not arrive in West Africa as occupiers, but after invitation by the Malian government, who requested help to fight the jihadists. And they responded. They said that the soldiers weren't there to rule, and according to them, they left the moment they were asked to leave. They also said that the relationship had been strained because Russia had poisoned its allies against them, and that the many coups that West Africa experienced have also contributed to strained relations. The countries that sent them out tell a different story. They argue that after years of French military operations, security wasn't improving but getting worse. They argued that if foreign troops had been in West Africa for all those years, why were they still fighting the same war?
Has our country gained from the presence of Barkhane? If we can say the problem has not worsened, I believe that we have not seen a military solution.
They also added that the relationship itself had become unbalanced. The initial terms by previous governments when they invited the French weren't working for them, but for the benefit of the French. For them, ending military agreements with France wasn't just about soldiers, but about sovereignty. So, who is right? Parts of both stories are true. France was invited by the then government to help fight terrorism that was growing in the area. But it's also true that despite years of military operations, the broader situation got worse. Now that we've understood who did what in West Africa, let's come back to Kenya. While others were ending defense agreement with France, Kenya was happily signing one. But not because Kenya wanted a French military intervention, as West Africa did 14 years ago. So, what exactly are the French coming to do in Kenya? And why Kenya? Promote regional peace and stability, especially in counterterrorism. Remember when I told you to hold that thought? Now let's get back to it. We've already agreed that France is not building a military base in Kenya. but coming to train together with Kenyan troops and cooperate to promote regional peace and stability, especially in counterterrorism. And according to Article 3 of that bilateral agreement, the French cannot do the following while in Kenya. They cannot prepare for or conduct war or warlike operations in Kenya. They also cannot carry out public orders, internal security, or sovereignty functions in Kenya. And lastly, they must obey Kenyan laws while present in Kenya. But here's the thing. Countries don't sign defense agreements just because they like each other. They sign them because at that moment in history, both sides believe that they have something to gain. For France, the agreement helps maintain a defense relationship with one of Africa's most influential regional powers. But that raises one question. Kenya is now deepening defense relationship with France, while already working closely with Britain and the United States. What more does Kenya get from this agreement? Many Kenyans are asking why the French are suddenly interested in friendship with Kenya. Of course, we've had good relations over the years. We've signed countless of trade agreements, among other things, but never a bilateral defense cooperation. So, many are asking why a bilateral defense cooperation agreement now, only a few months after they've been forced out of West Africa. Kenyans see it as a strategy for the French to continue with their rumored exploitation of African nations. Whether those allegations are true or not, many Kenyans have come to see France as an arrogant ally that doesn't always treat its partners with respect.
Already? You're not waiting your turn.
I will make order. Excuse me, everybody. Hey! I'm sorry, guys, but it's impossible to speak about culture, to have people like that super inspired coming here, making a speech with such a noise.
History has an habit of repeating itself. Not exactly, but in different forms. It all starts with visiting troops coming in for training. Then it expands into a base, and before you know it, the country is hosting 3 foreign military bases, whose benefits are redundant. That doesn't mean Kenya is becoming the new West Africa. The challenges are different, the politics are different, and the agreements themselves are different. Kenya isn't just another country on the map. It's a crossroads, and that's exactly why different countries see value in working with it. Britain trains soldiers here. The United States conduct counter-terrorism from Camp Simba in Manda Bay. And now France has signed a defense cooperation agreement. The question is, do we really need another defense agreement with yet another country? After all, too many cooks spoil the broth. Or do they?
Yeah. Boy, check 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Mic check 1, 2, 3. Final countdown, no time to breathe. Get your mind ready, your rhymes better be on to the teeth to be defeated by he. The one they call the GOAT, checkmate on the beat. 跟不上我的节奏 workflow， 嘴巴闭上键盘摇晃的特别一样。你们皱眉就是被我逐渐带入的迹象。隔山突然从我背上看我逃避，上落地平稳像在平地上，遇上预兆如气象，预报意想不到，所以记着带兵晕倒。我一手拍照，一手我匕首，冲入这一场。One check 1, 2, 3. Final countdown, no time to breathe. Get your mind ready, your rhymes better be on to the teeth to be defeated by he. The one they call the GOAT, checkmate on the beat. 跟不上我的节奏 workflow， 嘴巴闭上键盘摇晃的特别一样。你们皱眉就是被我逐渐带入的迹象。隔山突然从我背上看我逃避，上落地平稳像在平地上，遇上预兆如记者带地晕倒。我一手拍照，一手我匕首，冲入这一场。All check 1, 2, 3. Yeah, yeah. Boy check, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.